Bears fans are still trying to settle in on exactly how they feel about the 2025 NFL Draft. But we're starting to get thoughts and feelings from not only people on the Chicago Bears, but also draft experts. We're going to talk a little bit about that, plus some of the biggest misses by the Bears in this draft as well. We're getting to all of that and a little bit of mailbag right after this.
You are now tuned in to Chicago Bears Central, your number one place for all Chicago Bears news and content.
What's going on, Bears fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bears Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bears related. I'm the host, Derek Hayes, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at Chi Bears Central on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that said, let's go ahead and get into this content for today, y'all. And so when I dropped Saturday's episode, I believe it was Saturday's episode, I talked a lot about how the Chicago Bears they drafted per what Ben Johnson wants and needs, right? And a lot of people, and me, I always like to bring back receipts, hold people accountable. A lot of Bears fans, after us signing Ben Johnson, said things like, "Oh, well, let Ben Johnson draft." Ryan Poles, Ben Johnson needs to come out here and do it. And this was a draft where it really felt like Ben Johnson's imprint were all over these draft choices. Not all of them, but all over the draft choices up and down by the Chicago Bears. And one of those picks was Luther Burden, who, Luther Burden as a slot receiver can bring a lot of what the Chicago Bears need. And when it came down to it, both Ben Johnson and Ryan Poles have talked about why they felt like they could not miss on Luther Burden. Ben Johnson saying this: Luther, stud. You saw the highlights, right? He's a playmaker waiting to happen. For 6 foot, 200 plus pounds, it's rare to see someone with his movement skills. He can stop on a dime and accelerate just like that. Give him a little bit of space, and he can make big things happen. A dangerous player, weapon, call him what you want, but I see big things in his future. It's clear that Ben Johnson has a plan for Luther Burden, right? And like I said as well in the draft analysis, if you look around, there's nobody really that's doubting the skill level of Luther Burden, especially in the slot. There's some doubts and questions on how he was going to be able to adapt to the outside in the NFL level, and he's still going to have time and opportunity to grow that part of his game and show what he can do there, but nobody doubted what he could bring right away to the slot. Most draft experts even going so far as to saying he is purely a slot receiver, and guess what? That's exactly what the Chicago Bears need for him, putting him at that slot, which is the best position for him, and under Ben Johnson, what the productivity that he has as that slot receivers have under him, it's hugely important for Ben Johnson to have a productive slot receiver. Now, some Bears fans have asked legitimate questions like, we did we not address that with Olamide Zaccheaus? And yeah, I do think that Zaccheaus could have come in and been absolutely a weapon there, starting at that slot receiver. But if you have an opportunity to get somebody who's young, who can have most of his career with Caleb, grow with Caleb in Rome, right, and those type of guys, like, you do that. And they saw Luther Burden as a can't miss prospect. And, that's the way that they viewed it. Ryan Poles saying this: there was a lot of value there. He was at the top of our board, really did a good job following the board, kind of letting it talk to us. It was clear he was the most talented player on the board. He's an electric player, playmaker, highly competitive, and run after the catch is special. Probably the best in this class. When you add that to the group that we have, things get pretty exciting. So that's what it comes down to, right? And why they feel like Luther Burden III is bringing a lot of what's needed, according to them, to the Chicago Bears team. Now you're adding that to Colston Loveland, right, who already as a possession wide receiver is probably going to come in better than Cole Kmet in that place. I think more of a down the field threat. I think that kind of allows you to use Cole Kmet better to his strengths, right? And hopefully we see better use of him as well under Ben Johnson. But Colston Loveland as well is another guy that you really can see in Ben Johnson's offense and with this team, and even the pairing with Caleb Williams, which this is all really built around. When it comes down to, you want to find guys that really go well with Caleb Williams. You can see why they did that. Now, make no mistake about it, there are some Bears fans that are rightfully so questioning, all right, are we going to have enough at the offensive line? While the Bears have really overhauled the offensive line considerably, there's that one spot in Braxton Jones that people still look at as being the thing that, hey, we didn't upgrade that spot. How good can we really still be? Again, I've said before many times, Braxton is not as bad as some people make him out to be, but he's not as good as what like the PFF numbers will try to have you say. It's really somewhere between the middle there. And now getting an opportunity to look at Braxton, also carrying on Magaje, and let's be clear here, they still didn't bring Chapillo as well, who could be really good for the Chicago Bears, also at that left tackle position potentially. The Bears they brought in some competition for Braxton as they said they wanted to do, but Braxton's still going to have an opportunity under an improved offensive line to really show what he can bring and how he can round out his game. If not, I've said before, my problem the way that I look at the Braxton Jones situation is I just don't think that realistically Braxton is going to show enough this season that warrants the contract that starting left tackles typically get out in the open market. But that remains to be seen. We'll see what the Bears do there. Maybe Braxton has a completely surprise season where he's worth keeping, but you're going into the season and trying to see what happens when it comes down to it. But overall, like when you really look at the Bears draft, right? Not to say that this is the end-all, be-all, not saying that at all. It's just is another data point. And you look at the way that the Bears were graded for this draft. USA Today gave the Bears a B-, saying this: Ryan Poles, who's known for aggressive maneuvers, continue to build out the support system for second-year quarterback Caleb Williams. But the Poles hit the optional notes. Time will tell if first-round tight end Colston Loveland was the correct choice over Warren. Poles also stood pat at number 39 and round up with Luther Burden III, who loosely compares to Deebo Samuel. But Chicago missed out on what appeared to be the draft's top running back prospects. Poles did wind up with 3 stabs in round 2, and DT Shamar Turner might have been the best of the trio. All right, we'll see what happens there, right? NFL.com gave the Bears a B+, saying Loveland is a talented player, but you'll see over the next couple of years whether fellow tight end Tyler Warren, who went 4 picks later, would have been the better selection at number 10. And that seems to be a common theme here, right? Is that a lot of places are looking at it and saying, listen, Loveland is a hell of a talent, make no mistake about it, but will he be better than Tyler Warren? And like they said, that is going to remain to be seen, right? They did go on to say this: I expect Burden to be a stud in Chicago, where a team up with DJ Moore and Rome Odunze. The Trapillo and Turner picks address needs, even if the team may have jumped the board for them a bit. Hippolyte was picked a bit earlier than I expected, but he has the quickness and toughness to make an impact on special teams defense. Frazier's a bit of a project in the 5th round, but he did intercept 6 passes last season. Newman could contribute at guard or left tackle, and Monagai could prove to be the best value of all these picks. Pretty favorable there on the Bears. ESPN gave the Bears a B+. They're coming from Mel Kiper, says the Bears took tight end Colston Loveland, who has seam stretch ability and had 9 touchdown catches over the past 2 seasons. Ben Johnson comes from Detroit, where he had Sam Laporta. That comparison is really starting to get on my nerves. Chicago would have loved if Ashton Jitty fell to 10 to jumpstart the run game, and I prefer Tyler Warren among the tight ends in this class, but Poles is clearly doing whatever necessary to get Williams where the Bears need him. There you go on that one. Pro Football Focus gave the Bears a B+. So the pick shows first-year head coach Ben Johnson already has fingerprints on Chicago's team-building philosophy. Pairing Loveland with Kmet gives the Bears significant personnel flexibility. Loveland is polished, receiving tight end and ranked 96th percentile in receiving yards per route run at the position this season. Chicago's doing everything in its power to set Caleb Williams up for success. CBS Sports, B+. General Manager Ryan Poles appears to be in lockstep with new head coach Ben Johnson, and the Bears drafted 2 matchup nightmares in the first 2 rounds with Loveland and Berlin. Trapillo is an athletic grinder, and Turner adds pass rushing depth plus upside. The interior defensive front, which was needed. So again, seems like a lot of the places, Yahoo Sports B+ as well. Fox Sports gave the Bears an A- grade, right? Sports Illustrated a B-. The Ringer gave the Chicago Bears an A-, saying this: the Bears' top priority early on in this draft was to add talent around quarterback Caleb Williams, right? And so it seems like people are looking at what the Bears did, at least on paper right now, very favorable, and are grading it pretty well, right? And so not to say that that's the end-all, be-all, but I will say this as well. The Bears have moved up the Super Bowl favorites list as well on betting sites. Like, people are positive about this. Bears fans have not been as positive. And here's what I'll tell you guys, right? I want to be clear here. In no way am I saying that Bears fans are wrong for how they feel, because it doesn't match up with the national media. You know how I feel about the national media here, right? You know how I feel about it. The national media is, at this point, it's a lamestream media when it comes down to it, right? But there are some big questions left after this draft. I want to get into that, right? The first question is that are the Bears going to have enough at edge rusher? They did not attack the edge rusher. as in the way that many people thought that they would into this draft. So you're moving forward with Dayo Odeyingbo being your starter, which again, I kind of started piecing together that probably is what they're going to do with him making $20 million his second year. It seems like there's some pretty big confidence there, right? But then also saying that we still don't know enough about Austin Booker, Dominique Robinson, Daniel Hardy, right? And the depth that they're going to be able to provide, especially Austin Booker and Daniel Hardy. How much they grow coming into the next years are going to be really important for that. But are the Bears going to have enough at edge? That's still a big question for me here, right? Now, secondly, Luther Burden. Everybody's talking about Luther Burden and the talent that he brings here and how he's going to pair with Rome and DJ Moore. But are we going to use that? With having Cole Kmet, Colston Loveland, which I'm still trying to get that together, Colston Loveland and Luther Burden here, which keep in mind, Colston is going to at times light up as a slot receiver as well, right? Are we going to be able to see the best out of it? Then you don't have to necessarily see amazing things in year one, right? But you really want to look, how are they going to use them? You went out and got that position in the second round. Now, you have to use them very intentionally, I think. So in the way that we use, how are we going to use Luther Burden? That's a very creative thing. And are we going to get creative about how we use them? I think that's going to be important. One of the biggest questions that everybody's kind of sticking to is, who is Hippolyte, right? And what can he be for this team? People questioning if he's going to be able to play the linebacker position. Is he going to have enough size to do that? Yeah, he has speed, but is that going to be enough, right? That's the question here when it comes to Ruben Hippolyte, and we'll see what happens down to it. Maybe the Bears know something that we don't, right? Selected him a little bit earlier than most people thought, right? Some people even had him being an undrafted free agent. So the Bears picking him up here means that there's some level of confidence about either the prospect that he's going to turn into or what he can bring to this team immediately. And I guess we'll see what that ends up talking about. And then, did they address the running back early enough? Monagai is a talented player. I mean, when you look at his tape, you see nothing but talent. You saw in one of the things that we read here is that somebody said that he could end up being one of the best value picks for the Chicago Bears in this draft. Listen, I'm not saying that I necessarily see that, right? I don't even think it's guaranteed that he's going to beat out Roschon Johnson if Roschon can stay healthy, right? You coming into that room, Ian Willer's still going to be in there. And, while I said coming into this draft, Ian Willer wasn't going to factor hugely in if the Bears are going to draft a running back in rounds 1 or 2. Now that you have drafted Kyle Monangai at round 7, I do think that Ian Willer's still going to come into here trying to show some things as well. So all those things, the running back room is going to be really interesting to see how it shakes out. How productive is our running back room going to be? Yes, we revamped the offensive line. We got better run blockers in there as well. And can that really help propel us, right? And that's going to be a big question there also that we're going to have to face, which the running game brings us to the next topic that we're going to have before we get into the mailbag. And that is, what is the next move for the Chicago Bears, right? Now, a lot of people have asked this and have talked about it, right? You got Roschon Johnson, injury history. You got DeAndre Swift. He was okay last year, not great, but okay. An improved line's going to help him. You brought in Kyle Monangai, who has some promise there for sure, right? Ian Willer returning from an ACL injury, right? We don't have a lot of depth there, right? So now that has led a lot of Bears fans to ask, will the Bears pivot to Nick Chubb, right? And, it seems like there's still a really big possibility that Nick Chubb is going to be, playing for another team next year. And will the Chicago Bears, if he does become available, and is that maybe why Ryan Poles felt comfortable, not taking a stab at it, things like that. Chubb is an interesting case point, right, for the Bears. An older player, of course, right? He's been in the league since 2018. The last 2 years have not been really great for him when it comes down to that. You look at 10 games played over the last 2 years. That's not great. That's not what you would really want to bet a lot on. But as a gamble, a 1-year prove-it deal, which we know that Ryan Poles isn't against giving out 1-year prove-it deals. Will Nick Chubb be that guy, right? Now, you look at Nick Chubb's last full season. He had 1,500 yards rushing, 12 touchdowns. So it's not like he hasn't been productive, but that was 2022, right? We're going into 3 years removed from that. Can Nick Chubb still be productive? And I know a lot of people have asked that and have brought up Nick Chubb and if he's going to be somebody that the Bears maybe take a pivot at. And I'll say this. I'm not saying that it's impossible, right? But the knee injury that he had in 2023, playing 8 games last year, I just don't know if, yes, he's said to be fully healthy this season and this offseason. Can he have a bounce back year, right? And is he going to offer enough of a change of kind of style from a guy like DeAndre Swift? That's the question that you have to ask yourself here. We'll see what happens. Nick Chubb is somebody that people have brought up, and I'm not going to say this is a completely guy off the board with how the Bears have done things in the past with giving veterans opportunity when it's a position of need, and we'll see. I'm not necessarily the highest on it as some Bears fans are, but ultimately we'll see what Ryan Poles, Ben Johnson, and this front office and staff, how they view it. Maybe they do view it. If he does come in here, we'll see how productive he can be. But with that said, we are going to get a little bit into the mailbag. I'm going to probably all throughout the week. I want to keep hearing your guys' thoughts on it. But got 2 voicemails today. The first one, this one's from Darius.
What's going on, fellas? Darius from Dallas, man. I'll say I'm pumped about the draft, dude. So far, so good. We'll see what we do today with the later round picks. But when we first got that guy, that Colston Loveland, I was a little iffy about it. I was like, man, what's going on? I thought we were going trenches here, but I looked more into him before I made a comment. You know, unlike most Bears fans, just knee-jerk saying bullshit without doing your research. I looked into him, man, and damn, that guy is pretty fucking athletic tight end. He's got a little Kelsey in him, but I think he's more so going to be like a Jimmy Graham type player. I think he can play in the slot. I think he can play out wide. Of course, he can, be down there in the two tight end sets. Guy's got a lot of skill set, man. Then to turn around and get Luther Warren, and when I saw Randall L getting crunk in the war room, I was like, oh damn, this got to be a wide receiver. It turned out to be Luther Warren, dude. And dude, this kid might end up potentially being, I'm not gonna say the best, one of our best wide receivers though. I think he's got that much talent, and to be coached up by Randall L, dude, I don't even think we can put a cap on this guy's potential. He could either be a very solid number 2, or he's going to end up being one of the best receivers on the team. So I really do like their approach, because it seems like they're just going best player available. And that's all I ever wanted. Even if they didn't pick the guy that I wanted, they're just going best player available. They're not drafting for need. That lets me know, and it confirms to me that we have changed the way we do things in this organization. We don't just go and draft for need. We had Landon Jackson there, and a couple other. We had Mike Green there, and all that type of shit. They didn't draft for need. They drafted the best player available at every single spot. And then to trade back, Ryan Poles, and get 3 second-round picks. Oh my goodness, dude. The left tackle from Boston College, he's a fucking starter. Sit your ass down, Braxton Jones. And what's the other guy? The defensive tackle from A&M, man. He's going to be a good rotational defensive lineman for us to get in there. That's what we needed. And he ended up being one of the best players on the board, man. I'm just impressed with Ryan Poles. It seems like we're doing things in a championship manner, guys, from the draft to everything, to filling out the coaching staff. Everything Ryan Poles has done, man, he has been aggressive about getting us to where we need to be. So thank you for being smart, Ryan Poles, and putting us on the right track. Texas up, bear down.
I mean, listen, your thoughts on the Bears draft up through day 3 make a lot of sense. Like I'm excited about these picks as well. And you can be excited about picks. I think people forget you can be excited about picks, but still have some questions. It doesn't mean blind faith of just saying, "Oh, well, the Bears did great. We're great." No, I mean, I see Colston Loveland, Luther Burden. I see tremendous potential under Ben Johnson's offense for them. But there still is going to be that question of, did the Bears do enough? Did the Bears use the assets correctly? Could they have gone a different place, right? Some things like that. And we'll see what ultimately ends up happening with that. But overall, I think that the Bears did a really good job. And I think, like I said, you can feel Ryan Poles' and Ben Johnson's imprint all over what the Bears did here in this draft. And, maybe that's for the best. Let's hope that that's for the best. You bring up him as a head coach, right? And to your point, the Bears going best available. Like to hear Ryan Poles talk about Luther Burden, for example, and to say that they felt he was the best player on the board when they picked. Yeah, they went best. They went what they felt was the best available, not necessarily positions of need. Now, does that come back to bite them in their ass? We'll see how that happens over the season. But I'm not going to complain about it until we see. I think that, much like I said, I'm not going to let my excitement become expectation, right? And I think overall, I'm going to wait and see how this works out for the Bears. But I feel pretty good about what the Bears did in the draft. All right, let's get into the next voicemail, man. This one's from Ja.
What's up? How y'all doing, man? It's your boy, Ja from Arizona, man. And I just want to tap in. I was watching the draft. I'm watching it with y'all at the same time. And as I'm watching the show, I mean, Hayes said, man, we all wanted Ben Johnson. We all wanted Ben Johnson's mind, and hold on, you know what I mean by that, like pause. But we all wanted Ben Johnson to make the decisions, and now that he making them, it's like everybody questioning it. Like we don't get paid to do what these cats is doing, and I appreciate Hayes when you said that you just gonna you ain't gonna judge nobody until you see him play. Ain't no reason for us to go get upset about a player that we don't even know. Like, yeah, sure, you don't know that player, but that don't mean that player ain't good because you don't know him. We ain't scouted everybody. Man, come on, let's lay off some of these guys that are on our team now. They on our team. Let's hype them up, man. Let's pick them up. Let's build them up, man. I think that we made some great draft picks, and I hope that they all turn out to be good, man. I hope they all develop into great pieces. And when they are sorry, maybe then we say it was a bad draft or it was bad picks. But come on now, man. Let's really be real about it. Like, some of these cats can turn out into real decent guys, and I think that's a plus. I think and to be quite honest, I like a lot of the picks. The Ozzie pick, I like the Samar Stewart pick. I like the Colston Loveland pick. Like, I like the Luther Burden pick. I like those. Those are decent ass picks. That's 4 right there. Shit. I mean, I get it. Y'all don't think that we should have traded back so much, and I mean, to each his own. I think it has its perks. You know what I'm saying? But hey, let's not down our team. Let's pick them up. I think we're gonna be doing good. So, Hayes, I really appreciate you, putting that out there. We can't just not like you. We have to scout these guys first. We gotta look at them. We gotta see them play first. And that's just what I believe, man. Tell me what y'all think on the draft. How y'all feel about the players? Yeah, just want to know. Chicago weapon, bear down, baby.
John, I think a lot of people are right there with you. Like I've said before, Bears fans are a fan base that's never going to be happy until we win a Super Bowl. And I'm not even saying that like that's necessarily a bad thing. I won't even say necessarily Super Bowl. Till we're competing meaningfully in the NFC. That I think Bears fans there's always going to be a level of trepidation, concern, and doubt around whatever this team does until it's proven, right? And that, goes back to me and Steve-O's conversation, right? Like, Steve-O, Steve-O's always going to look at every move as a bad move until the Bears are winning at the level that we need them to win at. I don't necessarily have that. I think it's more layered than that, right? You can make a series of good moves, but the results still need to be what matter in that. You can make some good moves, but how you bring everything together is what gets that result, right? And we got to see if this is an offseason where things come together better than some Bears fans are expecting. I think a lot of these guys that the Bears are drafted, whether it's this year or going forward into the future, are really going to surprise some of the Chicago Bears fans that were a little doubtful over these moves. Now, still question. Like, it sucks that you didn't get Travion Henderson. It sucks you didn't get Quashawn Judkins, but they came off the board before you, right? Now, some could say that in round 6, you still have Brashard Smith there, but, we'll see what ends up happening there. Overall, it's always going to be a wait and see in a lot of cases. Yeah, there are some picks that you look more at as surefire things than not, right? But I think overall as well, like, you got to just look at things and wonder, all right, how is this going to work out for us, right? How is this going to turn into what we needed to turn into, and how does this get us to the place that we need to be at? And that's the thing that's really layered and interesting in this whole entire scenario for the Chicago Bears, right? And we'll see what happens there, right? When you look at some of the things that, the questions around some of these players, they're legitimate. And we'll just see what that means for the Chicago Bears and how it ends up working out. But thank you for your voicemails. Thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure you guys are following us at Chi Bears Central. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns. ChicagoBearsCentral@gmail.com. Lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-242-9336. We are the number one spot for everything Chicago Bears related, but that's thanks to you, lovely and beautiful people. And like I like to end every episode on, Chi-Town up, but bear down. Love you guys. Peace, y'all.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.